Okay, good morning. My name is Fernando Gómez. I work for the Piloto University in Colombia, Bogotá, Colombia. And the article that we're going to see today is named, Can Technology Replace the Teacher in the Pedagogical Relationship with the Student? And it's a derivation. This article is a work derived from some talks with teachers in the university about the new role of technology inside teaching, inside the education. And good morning. And I know they have many questions, teachers, about what's going to happen with technology inside classes. Are they going to replace them? Are they going to be, computers are going to be the new teacher for students? And we're going to see what could lead us to say that, and why is not possible, why the arguments against that, and to have some conclusion about the issues. Well, okay, so for a long time there has been a dream, a lot of stories and dreams and tales about technology replacing man and artificial intelligence. We have movies, or we can go to old Greece. We have Pygmalion, we have Goethe's Faust, building the homunculus as an intelligent being, and all kind of stories that are making people think about what's going to happen in the future, and teachers, what's going to happen with them. Now we are talking about learning environments, virtual learning environments that can help students learn, and perhaps someday replace teachers. That's a big question. Why yes? Why? So what we must ask us is, can be the teacher be modeled or be replaced by a mechanical model? That's the big question. In other words, it's the materialist thesis of Lametrie, that a philosopher in the 1784 that began to ask and to propose the man as a mechanical model. He has a book called Man is a Machine. So everything for him, everything can be modeled in a mechanical model inside the man. So Bertrand Russell is the first one to have a serious approach, serious mathematical model, trying to build a mathematical model to replace the mathematician in this case. It's the Principia Mathematica book. So he dreamed about having a final system for mathematics, for mathematical truth. In other words, they were asking about mathematical truth, making meta-mathematics, reflecting about themselves. They wanted to replace the mathematician, in other words. They wanted to find a complete system that could be able to find all the truths in mathematics. And they built they had a nice book, very inspiring, and David Hilbert said, this is very interesting, we must validate that. And he made a challenge to all mathematicians of his time, and he said, let's validate that. Let's validate if Principia Mathematica is a true proposition, is a true theory. And he said, we must have two criteria in order to validate that. A decision process, taking decisions. Also how in the same way as a teacher would take decisions about true or false in a class, or good or competence for a student. There has to be a process to take decisions inside mathematics, true or false mathematics, true or false decision on mathematical propositions. So Principia Mathematica, David Hilbert said there must be some kind of deciding process. And also, this Principia Mathematica should generate all the new truths, all the new ideas in a consistent and complete way by itself, not with any human help or human intelligence. So that's the challenge that arises from the Hilbert program. And then Alan Turing, some years later, Alan Turing and Kurt Gödel showed that this was not possible. Mechanical models or mechanical systems or formal systems cannot take decisions by themselves. and cannot generate new truths by themselves. So that's it. That we will see. We will see what Turing said, and Fernando will say later, but it's an important point here. There's also contradiction, and I think that's why there's so many confusion about this issue of artificial intelligence, because Alan Turing made a contradiction about himself. He himself said, machines can think. It's true. Wait like 50 years and they will think. But they will think because they will answer our questions. That's all. That's what Turing said. They will learn to answer questions and produce knowledge, and not produce knowledge, and give or bring some knowledge, something like that. Nowadays, we have a big example of this. Now, this is a reality nowadays. 1 year ago, I don't know if you know, Watson, it's a new computer from IBM, and what Turing, the prognosis of Turing is now a reality. Computers, I would say, can talk in some way, but they don't really think. They just make interpretations of language, of human language, but they can answer questions, as Turing said. Now they can answer questions. Watson, what Watson did is historical. He beat the best human competitors in a game called Jeopardy, the Jeopardy game, TV game. So Watson was able. It's a question game. It's a question game. It's a quiz, something like that. The player chooses the topic, for example, American cities, and he will receive questions about American cities. And Watson beat the best players of Jeopardy. They are very tricky questions, the way they are built. And Watson was able to make interpretation of language and show correct answers 70% of the time, 80% of the time. So what we have here is the big reason for saying, okay, we can have a computer answering questions to students. It will be possible. But we must ask before saying that if this is the key point of education. Okay? Producing, giving answers. This will be the key point of education, giving answers. That's what Watson is doing. And when he has a wrong point, he has a really wrong point. Watson he makes a big mistakes, really stupid mistakes, excuse me. But the mechanical process behind is not perfect. So, as we will see next, the main arguments against the possibility of having a computer teaching are stated by Turing and Gödel. Turing said something very simple. Algorithms or computers cannot take decisions about other algorithms all the time. They will just get blocked. Decision taking is not possible for in a consistent way through algorithms about truth or false. So imagine if La Mettrie was true, if we all were algorithms, a teacher and a student, we will be blocked. We will be blocked. As Turing said, it's a mathematical demonstration. I'm not saying that this is a nice argumentation from Turing. He did a mathematical argumentation, a mathematical demonstration, mathematical exercise, and he demonstrated that it's not possible to take all the possible to take decisions. A computer will need an external entity, an external human, to take final decisions sometimes. So in the room class, this is critical. How can we take decisions about competences in students all the time in a consistent way through a computer? It's not easy. It's not easy. Not really easy. Gödel has another big point, and I think is the most important: creativity and entrepreneurship is not easy to model through a formal model, through a formal system. He said that he stated that a theorem that is called the incompleteness theorem that says every formal system is incomplete. He cannot be. These two guys are answering the 3 points of Hilbert. A formal system cannot be consistent and complete at the same time. In other words, You can find truths through the rules of a computer. You can find truths, and they're valid truths. But you will find truths outside the system that also are valid truths, but they cannot be validated with the same rules. Like Watson had some examples that are in the article showing that. He had wrong answers because the rules of the system were not strong enough to find these truths. So you can make the rules stronger. You can make a better system, but this will not have. This is a process with no end, with no finish. You will not finish never to make a stronger system. The system will need always a human or something external to make stronger rules. So what does it mean here for us? Is the creative. This is, in other words, the creative process. How we find new truths, how we investigate. It's not through mechanical rules. You are faced to nothing. You must jump outside the system, jump outside the rules, what we have right now, and find the truths and incorporate them into the system. That's investigation. And how to do that? How can we do that? Well, that's Gödelization. In other words, that's what Gödel called Gödelization itself. It's jumping outside the system. We need to jump outside the system to investigate and find new things. And this is, and mechanical systems like algorithms, like computers, are limited in this way. Okay? So IBM supports these findings. IBM have a nice article making an analysis of its software development teams, and they say if we don't have human interaction in some way, creativity is blocked. Creativity is blocked. There must be human interaction. There must be social interaction. There must be, it doesn't matter if it's real, face-to-face, or through video conference, but there must be some way where people talk and challenge each other. Challenging in order to get out of the system, to find new truths. And that's what the IBM is posing there, is saying there. And it's very nice because it's a real world example where we see that the social interaction is critical. In a classroom, it's the same. Imagine that the software development team is a classroom. They have the same means, the same technologies used to interact with each other. Moodle, video conference, but they need to produce knowledge. It's the key point there. It's their goal. So if they don't interact, if they don't challenge each other, if they don't, they have a nice concept. They must construct bonds of trust. We must build bonds of trust with each other in order to challenge us. I must know her in order to say her, I don't think like you. I don't like what you're doing. We need to do something different. Something like that is the idea behind it. But the big message here is we cannot replace human interaction. We cannot replace the teacher. Algorithms we don't have all the decision criteria in a classroom to take decisions. For example, a teacher told me once what happened if it was possible for a computer to put a note on a written composition. I would say yes, and it will validate your English, it will validate your grammar, your spelling, your grammar, but perhaps the student is writing and joking about you in a very subtle way, in a very perhaps he's talking about your mother or your father, something like that, and the computer will put a 5 or a 10, the maximum note. We don't know. That's the difference. Understanding context, taking decisions. The computer will be blocked it sometimes. It won't be able to take all the possible decisions about a person or something. And it's very important. The key issue is not to answer questions, not to have knowledge, as Watson. The key question is to learn to pose questions, learn to see yourself. Jumping outside the system is a conscious process. It's the key of consciousness. Seeing yourself is the key issue, the key point of education. Learning to see yourself, learning to pose the right questions. And Watson, for example, is very good answering questions. This is not the idea here. Social interaction is irreplaceable, as we saw. The message is technology can extend our intelligence. It's an extension for intelligence, but it's not a replacement for human judgment. It's very different. Human judgment right now cannot be modeled with a mechanical model, as I would say. But they are universal machines, be careful. This doesn't mean that we cannot use it. We must use it. They are universal models, universal meanings. They can model anything that we know. Any truth can be modeled inside there. So it's a practical issue, because if we don't use it, we will be in the old age time, so middle age time, something like that. But it's a decision that must be taken as a tool, not as a replacement for teacher. Thank you very much. If you have questions, I leave you with a quote of Radiguch that I like a lot, where he talks about software as being as a construction material, as a tool, not as a replacement for humans. If you have questions, thank you very much.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Gómez.